Hello, today we're going to take a quick look at the Leica IIIC. I included some close-up shots for you guys to look at while I go over a few pros and cons. Pros, the first one, if for a Leica camera, it's still very reasonably priced. You can find them around pretty easily. The cameras are pretty reasonably priced. The lenses, you can find even Leica lenses, and they're not priced as much as their M counterparts. You can even find some Russian lenses that are under $100 to use. Canon also makes some, even Nikon, they're a little pricier, but the Canon screw mount lenses and the Russians are pretty, you can find those $150 to $100 pretty easily. So that's one of the pros. The second one, it's a fun camera to use if you use it regularly. If it's just a camera you take out once a month, it's a little frustrating. It just has a lot of quirks that you have to remember. But if it's a camera that you commit to, if you just use it daily or a few times a week, it becomes a pretty fun camera to use. It's a slow camera. It's not a camera you want to take to get a lot of action shots. You can stop the lens down and that'll help give you a little bit more depth of field, but it's not a camera that you want to, it's not a quick camera. That being said, there's been generations of photographers that have used this for war photography, street photography, that they used it on a daily basis, taking hundreds of shots. So if you use a camera that regularly, even these, you can still get a lot of really good shots. And it's also a collector's piece. It's a camera that you can fix pretty affordably. You can still find a lot of places to fix it or to service it. And it's a camera you can have for a really long time. It's not really going to lose too much value. If anything, it'll just stay even, or you might make a little bit of money if you buy it at a good price. Cons, it's a very slow camera to load. If you want to change a roll of film, after you take a roll of film, it's going to take a long time to put a new roll of film. You have to cut the leader, the first part of that comes out of the cassette. You got to cut it a certain way. You have to feed it in properly. You got to put it into the lip of the take-up spool. I've ruined some film. I've had to recut the film. I've had to lose shots because you can find tutorials how to load the film, but it's a slow camera to put a roll of film on. Also, it only has frame lines. You can see on the left side is a focusing, and it's very small. On the right side is the frame line, so you could look, so you kind of, your eye, it'll get used to just going from one hole to the other. You frame the shot, and it's only got frame lines for a 50mm lens. So if you want to use a wide angle or a telephoto, you have to use an adapter on top, and it slows it down even more. But if you're cool with just using a 50mm lens, you get used to it pretty quickly. So that's one of the cons, is that it takes some practice to learn how to focus, but framing the shot's pretty easy. And if it's not a camera you're going to use regularly, like I was saying, it's a little frustrating. But it's still a fun camera to use. But the learning curve, it is a camera I wouldn't start shooting with it and I wouldn't take it to a party. It's a camera that the first 2 or 3 rolls you are just practice. Like, don't do anything serious. Just try to get used to the camera, rewinding the camera. But it's still a very fun camera to use. And once you get used to it, it's charming. It's a very small camera. It was used by some of the greatest photographers, but I would definitely recommend this camera to anyone who is into analog photography. Thanks.